y'all, and welcome to another exciting episode of Down Home Dirt, the show where we dive deep into the journey of entrepreneurship with the people who took the plunge and all the ups and downs that come with it. And today I'm joined with Dena with Choose Local and Small, y'all, and I'm super excited to bring this to you because she has an amazing group on Facebook where she's out there in the community telling you about all the small businesses in the area. I think you were in Angier yesterday, was that correct?
I was, yes. We ventured out from Garner. I'm always like, oh, we're visiting a neighborhood, town, seeing what they're all about.
Exactly. I love that. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it and tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from and how'd you end up in the Triangle.
Oh my goodness, that could probably be a whole podcast in and of itself. But the short story is I am the product of what happens when a immigrant from Syria who's a Muslim marries a Baptist from North Carolina. And that's kind of how my story started. I know, kind of crazy. My parents met, they got married. I lived in Chicago. I was born there. For 3.5 years, we lived there. And then my father got offered a job with his company because he was Arab in the Middle East. And so I legitimately spent my childhood from the time I was 3.5 till I was about 14 living between Dubai and Saudi Arabia. And so, when I was in ninth grade, after ninth grade, you don't have schools in Saudi Arabia that are American. And so you have to go to boarding school. And I said, well, I'm going to come back to North Carolina because that's where my grandparents were. And that's where we spent every Christmas and every summer. So I went to boarding school in Winston-Salem. I had a kind of crazy high school life because I changed every year. Ninth grade, I was Saudi. 10th grade, I was Winston-Salem. 11th grade, I was Charlotte. 12th grade, I went back to Winston-Salem. And the reason I tell this is because when I got old enough to decide stuff for myself, I was like, I'm putting down my roots and I'm not going anywhere. So I went to NC State and I've never left. I've been here ever since. 1989 is when I went to NC State.
Oh,
So that's how
wow.
I
So
got
you've been
here.
here forever.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, that's amazing. I've been here 10 years now. Oh God, 10 years now. So
Wow, that's big.
it is to me because I never stay put. I'm from Florida originally, but I never seen snow. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go where it snows. And I moved to Asheville. And then I said, no, thank you, because this is too cold. So I
Forget
came
it.
down to Raleigh, been here ever since.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I love Raleigh. It's great.
it's a great area. And that's why I'm really excited to have you on today. So I want you to tell us a little bit about Choose Local and Small, y'all.
Oh my goodness. It's so hard to tell just like where we are now without kind of sharing the backstory of how we even came to be because it was not really something that I had ever planned, if that makes sense. So I owned my own business. I think it was year 10. And I had this idea in 2019 to get all my friends that were small business owners, and we were going to do kind of just a gimmicky small business Saturday campaign, right? That's all it was going to be. So I said, hey, let's just call ourselves something or call the campaign something. Let's make t-shirts. Let's all get in a group, take a picture, and we will all share it, right? That was kind of the key premise behind it, is that we were going to harness our power together and we weren't going to pay for it. And so we were like, yeah, let's do this. And believe it or not, I convinced 30 of my friends to do this. And we all went to the cliche Garner sign, the one I'm talking about, and we
Yes.
took pictures of all of us standing there. I mean, that's what everybody does in Garner. Um, and on Small Business Saturday, we all did what we claimed we were going to do, and we all shared that one post, right? And it was crazy. It was like, oh, look at our reach. It was like all these people saw us. And then we really didn't think anything else about it. It was like, okay, yay, we did it, whatever. Um, and then the pandemic hit, right?
Mm.
And I always say, I'm a believer, and I said, I think God put us together on purpose, knowing what challenges we were going to face. Because I don't think it would have ended the same way group wise if we had to use all the mental capacity to form this group during that time. We were already a group, right?
Mhm.
So during COVID, gosh, I was a small business that got shut down, and so many of my friends got shut down. And that first day, you know, small businesses look out for each other, right? Don't you think?
I
And
agree.
we all started calling each other, and we were checking in, and we were like, "What? What are we gonna do? How long is this gonna last?" I mean, nobody knew anything, but we knew our anxiety was like up here. So I gave myself maybe a couple of days to just like process, right? I mean, I don't think I ever really fully processed the whole thing, but after a couple of days, I was like, okay, who's going to tell me what to do, right? Who's got the answers? And everywhere I was looking, they were just as clueless as we were. And it was like what you would think of as authority figures, right? Like, oh, this person's going to know what to do, or this entity's nope, nope. So, being kind of just pigheaded and stubborn and all the things that small business owners are, I was like, well, hey, we got this group and we're a pretty awesome bunch. And we already know, we've got that entrepreneurial spirit. So I start calling them and I start saying, we can't sit around and do nothing, right? Like, we can't lose our business because of this. And so we just started throwing out ideas. And really, the easiest thing to do during COVID was social media, right?
Yep.
You just get on there and you talk about stuff. I mean, you can do it from your home, you can do it from wherever. And it really just kind of took on this life of its own. I was also really blessed that my son, who sounds terrible, but thrived during COVID because he's a homebody and he loves to game and he could have cared less that he wasn't going to school at the time. I was like, you know what? You're really smart and you're going to do some stuff for me. So he learned Adobe Premiere, he learned all that kind of stuff. And we started making videos that were silly, but they would feature all of the different businesses. And we would help the businesses that were open, right? Anybody that was still open that could safely have people, then we were sending people to them. And we were, the very first thing we did that really took off and became immensely popular was called the Cash Mob. And it was a concept where we said, okay, we are going to pick one business per week. I mean, that was kind of like industrious at the time, but every Wednesday we picked a different small business that was open and we said, we're going to mob you. And we invited the whole community to go to that business that day and spend at least $20. And we asked for cash. We didn't really care at the time. I mean, credit card, whatever. And at that point, we had one of our other partners that was shut down during that time. They sponsored. So I'm just going to use an example. Josh Macon owns Avisboro Coffee, and somebody like another small business who was, say, Cassandra, who's a realtor. She doesn't really have a tangible place that we can go cash mob. How do you cash mob a realtor? So she would provide a prize for the raffle that day. And what would happen is we would get all these people to go in, they would fill out the raffle slips. The business would get a really good boost. I mean, every boost was different, but sometimes it was several $1,000s that they would get in this one day. And then the next day we would draw a winner for the raffle basket. And this went on from, I think July was our very first cash mob, and that went on through the end of the year. That we just kept picking a different business, and every week, like more and more and more people would show up for it, and it was really really cool. I just that was like my favorite piece of the whole backstory during COVID, and really we came into our own during COVID because we didn't have a choice but to rely on each other, and that's how we really grew.
No, that same thing. I actually started my business literally a month before the shutdown. Had all my paperwork. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then I was like,
Uh
I'm not
huh.
doing anything. But
Oh, right,
it
right.
actually worked out really well for me because I have a cleaning company, so I was able to, kind of use that to my advantage to be able to build it. But
Yeah,
it was, you're right, it was social media was the only way to do that at the time, and I had gotten so many referrals from social
100%.
media.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's tons of bad stuff about it, right? Like nobody's going to argue that point. But I mean, if you wanted to use it for good, I mean, you were able to during that time. So that's kind of what we did. I'm sorry for the beeping. I'm rolling up my windows because people are about to start walking past and they're all looking at me like I'm crazy.
That's okay. It's crazy Sunday.
Yes, crazy Sunday.
So tell us a little bit about where the group is now.
Okay, so I always like to say those of us in the original 30 mix are kind of like trauma bonded to each other, right? Like we all lived through this just crazy experience, and until today, we all still check in on each other, we all support each other. So people started taking notice, right? Like, because so many other traditional business alliances really didn't do a whole lot during COVID, right? They were just kind of laying low. And we were like, forget that, right? We're not laying low. We're going to fight this thing together. So more people would want to join. And at that point, I was like, come on in. It was survival mode. We were like, join, join, join. At the time, I'm not going to lie, to join, all you had to do was buy a t-shirt that said choose local and small, y'all. And we were like, you're in. Well, as time went on and we've got more and more and more people, and I'm wanting to really offer more, I'm like, well, we need a website and we needed this. And we all of a sudden it started costing a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
To provide all this stuff. And the one thing that I pride myself on as far as Choose Local is that we harness the power of each other and we don't pay for things on social media. Now, I'm not saying at some point I would never pay for an ad or whatever, but we're really blessed that we all pitch in, so to speak, in the advertising piece. And it matters when the community is behind you also. So we have this kind of built-in marketing campaign in that people interact with our page, they like it, they share it, they do things without us ever having to pay that money to Facebook. So I do love that part. So eventually that next year, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years in, I was like, okay, I hate to do this, but we're going to have membership dues. So I felt so guilty charging people $100 a year. Looking back, I'm like, okay, that was pretty reasonable. And so we then started honing in on, okay, what does it make sense, or which businesses make sense to be in us? And that's when I started kind of shifting the guidelines a little bit. And again, I don't ever want to be viewed as a group that is against anybody. Like I don't have anything against any business that's a franchise. It's just what I realized is during COVID, my business was, which is a day spa that has no affiliation with anybody, coffee shops that had no affiliation, we didn't have this portal to go to, right? That all of a sudden told us all of our social media marketing points, that told us how to handle things. I don't have an HR department. I don't have anything but my friends, my family, fellow entrepreneurs. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to focus on them. I'm going to make this about them because all these other folks, they have built-in name recognition. Do you think Chick-fil-A needs me to go market them? No. Do people like, they don't need me. So that's when I shifted gears there a little bit. And so if you kind of read through our stuff, I try to explain when I send people the criteria. I know that not everybody you see in this group, fits the criteria of what I have now, but we're a living, breathing, changing group. And at first I felt guilty about it. And now I'm like, I don't, because you evolve based on needs, right? And what group I think is underserved and underrepresented is the mom and pop small business. So that kind of became my heart. So that's kind of who we are now. We are a small business alliance that is committed to promoting, advertising, and helping local and small businesses while giving back to the community. And that is another huge part. I actually had a person one time, and this makes me sound like such a jerk, but they reached out and they were like, yeah, I heard about your group. So tell me what you're going to do for me. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not out here selling my group. Like, we don't advertise, we don't have membership campaigns. I think we're kind of self-explanatory. And if if your first question to me is, what am I going to do for you? I really don't think your heart is where our group is. I mean, I think when people see our group, the first thing they think about is our community service, because every single month we've got some kind of service project we're working on. Now, that doesn't mean that we still aren't here to help, you know, keep your books filled and get the name recognition out there for everybody. But I don't know, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, no, 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 that's not how we do things. Because guess what? We don't have to do things like everybody else. And that's kind of what we prided ourselves on, is we're just going to turn the whole tables on business alliances. And it's not suits and ties. It's, I mean, you know, if you wear one, fine, but that's not kind of the premise or the vibe of who we are.
No.
As I'm sitting here sweating to death in a car in my daughter's soccer t-shirt.
That's okay. I'm wearing pajamas, and I don't care. It is what it is. It's Sunday.
Fabulous. Exactly.
No, this is a really great group, and I seen that you had gone out and done some PR work for the group and for, you know, the town, and you were showing things off. And so, how do you choose what or who you're going to put on there?
That is a great question. For the most part, we only showcase our business partners. And we call them partners on purpose instead of members, because this is a two-way street. This is a partnership. Like, it's not just, like I said, what are you going to do for me? No, this is a we're doing this together kind of thing. Oh, heck, see? Okay, bye. That's my husband. This is a we're going to do this together. You have to participate and help other people. It's not just all about you. So yeah, that's the premise behind who we put on there. Then I pretty much do town events, community events. For a long time, I was very Garner centric. I'm not going to lie, because that's where I was. And recently, we've gotten folks from Clayton that have joined us. We have a business from Zebulon. And once again, I'm pivoting, and I'm like, you know what? Local to me now is going to be North Carolina. Now, do I think somebody out in Chapel Hill is going to necessarily join us? Probably not, because most of our business groups and meetups and stuff are still going to be in Garner or Clayton. But if you want to, and you want to be on our website, and you want to get shout outs on social media, then hey, join us. It's totally fine. So that's why I went to Anger. I love a festival. I went there yesterday, last night. My best friend's son plays in a band, and we went and listened to him. And so, yeah, I just got to where I don't want to necessarily be like a blogger person, but I'm like, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to show off where I went and give them a shout
Which
out.
is absolutely the best. I do that myself as a small business owner, and I try.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
and I
Yeah.
try to only visit like small, like mom and pop shops, like you were saying, coffee shops, anything small, you know, because I
Yep.
want to get the word out.
Exactly.
I don't come from an area where there is
Yep.
a lot of that. It's very commercialized where I'm from in Sarasota, and so like, yeah. So when I came here, I was like, oh my god, it's community, like it's so much better. So that's why I've been here ever since. But that's the same thing I do. And the whole reason I started the podcast was because I wanted to share stories of entrepreneurs who were local in the area. We go all over the triangle and just talk about, like, you know, how are you doing? What are you doing with your business and all of the things? And I think that's great that you do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the one thing I've noticed, and I tell people all the time, if I go somewhere, I am immediately drawn to another small business owner. Their business might be completely different from mine. I might know nothing about their line of work, but we're going to sit there and probably talk for like an hour, just like we all have the same problems and the same issues. And I think it goes back to that trauma bonding, you know, like even though maybe we didn't do the same thing in COVID, we've all got the same issues with either staff or marketing or whatever, you know, taxes, who knows?
Absolutely. And that's a lot of things I like to highlight on the podcast is like, hey, you know, you see the glory, yes, but like you don't know the story. So I'm here to share it.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So how would you like to see your group grow over the next, I don't know, 5 years?
It's so funny. Like the one thing I never really thought much about the group, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I never recognized the power it really had until people started coming to me thinking that I really had it all figured out. And that made me laugh so hard. Like they would say, "Oh, I want to talk to you because I really think this can go huge and I really want to interview you for this." Or and I'm like, "What are these people talking about?" Like I've got nothing figured out. Like I'm living day to day and just crisis by crisis, right? And I will say probably within the last year, because I can't believe this November will be 5 years since
That's
we
amazing.
started.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I still don't believe it, but I I finally am like, okay, I do need to kind of maybe have some kind of goals or aspirations or direction maybe that this thing would take. And so little by little, I can't remember now. I should really have had statistics, but I kept thinking, okay, what do people do and how can I switch it around, right? Everybody does like kind of a podcast version, like where they'll talk to people and it'll be long and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, I can't do that, right? Like I don't think I'm good at that. But what am I good at? Well, I'm pretty snarky and sarcastic and all that kind of good stuff. So I thought I need a shorter mindset way of advertising businesses because also I feel like I'm totally ADHD and I'm jumping from thing to thing.
I'm diagnosed. You're in good
So
company.
I was talking to right, thank you. I was talking to my friend Kelly again, whose son played last night, and I said, "Okay, help me brainstorm this. Right, we got to do something." And we sat down and we were writing all these ideas. We should do like a Tonight Show, or we should do a this or that. And I thought, none of those are. I don't feel them, right? And I laid down in bed and was watching TV, and all of a sudden, Anchorman comes on. And I love a
Yeah.
stupid comedy. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to do a fake news channel and we're going to be Anchorman. Like, that's it. And I call her up and I'm like, okay, like, get your character ready. Like, we're going to be them. So I call two of my other friends. One is Guy that owns Moonrunners and Josh who owns Avisboro Coffee. And I'm like, all right, I need y'all on this news channel and I need you to be this character, right? And I love them to death. They're my trauma bonded people. And they're like, okay, whatever you need. And poor Josh hates to be in front of a camera. He hates talking in front of people, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, Dena, you know I'm going to be horrible at this. And I said, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. You're going to be a completely awkward newscaster. Like, so we would film these videos that were like about a minute and a half long, all in these ridiculous characters interviewing people. And I always promise people, I'm never going to make fun of you, but we're going to make fun of ourselves so you don't ever know what we're going to say. And if you go back and look at some of the first ones, these poor people, Kelly is the best. She could come up with just crazy mess off the fly. And the reactions you see are genuine because they had no idea what we were getting ready to say. And then it just became the more outlandish and ridiculous. And we kind of came into our own little characters. So that's one thing that I want to grow a little bit more and kind of hone maybe our technology for it. Let's say, like, we still just film on my iPhone and whip it together in about 30 minutes and make up the script about like on the way in the car kind of thing. So we could probably be a little more polished when it came to that. But the news channel was definitely a unique way to showcase businesses. So I really do love that and I'd like to grow it.
No, that's awesome. And I love that because I've noticed, I mean, it's 2024. Everybody wants to see you in front of a camera. That's how you grow your business. That's why I'm here. We just, got into
Right.
podcasting video wise. So people want to see
Yeah.
you, see your reaction, see what's going on. I talk with my hands. I just realized
Right.
that.
Oh yeah, I'm just sitting here going, I keep touching my face and my hands are so big.
Right. And I'm like, if I have to sit on my hands, it's not happening. So tell us about how
Oh no,
somebody
no.
would like find you. You said you have a website?
We do. So we have a website, we have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, and LinkedIn, but I'm not gonna lie, I am so not a LinkedIn kind of person. It's way too professional
I
for
agree. I
me.
have a LinkedIn too, and I'm just like, I don't know how this works. It's like a Facebook, but like not.
Right. Exactly. And you have to be really kind of proper on there. And I'm so not. So I use it occasionally, but you won't find much information
No,
on mine. Yeah.
absolutely. All right. So, what advice would you have for somebody who's wanting to start a business, because you're an entrepreneur and so am I? So, I've heard a lot of things, but what's the best thing that you've heard?
Oh, wow. Like I tell this story. It's funny when you were saying that you started your business like a month before COVID. I tell this story and I hate to admit this. So, obviously it was while my business was shut down, and I thought I was kind of coping well with it, like I was like, okay, I've got this, I've got other outlets, I'm trying to do choose local and small, y'all. And this guy who I didn't really know reached out to me and said, hey, somebody told me to talk to you. I'm opening a business. So he comes over and he's talking about how he's going to start a
Hmm.
juice bar in the middle of COVID. And I clearly was not coping well that day because I was like, have you lost your mind? No, don't do it. Oh my God. It's not, it's going to be horrible and blah, blah. And this poor man is just looking at me like, who told me to come talk to her? Like she's ridiculous. And so we really did become friends. And I was like, I'm sorry, like, do what you need to do, but this is the hardest time for you to open a storefront business where people are going to be coming to now he's got a thriving juice shop. It's Plant Slant, and we still till today laugh about that. I do love this new concept, and maybe it's not new, but new to me, is the launch
Yes.
program, which is they've got them in, yeah, they've got them in Garner, Joco. I think almost every municipality now has them. And Choose Local is on the board for the Garner launch program. And I will say, I got invited to speak at a women's conference in Rocky Mount one time, and I truly from my heart said on stage, I'm pretty sure y'all invited me as the what not to do for a small business. Because when I opened my day spa business, I had never even worked in a spa. I swear to God, I have a nursing degree and a social work degree. And I had just become a massage therapist. And I'm like, I can do this. Of course I can. Well, that I would not advise that to anybody. I would say do a little more research, have a little more information before you start. So I love the launch stuff because it makes you think about things. Um, I'm not sure how they're all structured, but I would say the one not negative, that's not a good way to say it. The one piece that I wish I would see in a launch program is kind of like that
Hmm.
tough love stuff. Now, I can't tell you whether or not your business is, you might defy the odds. I might think your idea is total crap and you might thrive. But I do think I know how hard it is after 15 years in business and the pitfalls. And sometimes you can
Hmm.
see that a mile away that somebody thinks they've got this great idea and you're going, oh, wow, I, I think you're going to struggle. And I hate that our world is such now that we can't say that to people because I can tell you I do. And I try to say it from a place of kindness and love. But why do you want to blow smoke up somebody's ass and tell them that their business is going to, oh, yeah, this sounds great? When you're like, oh my God, that's the tiredest idea I've ever heard? So I feel like it's much kinder to hear that, right or wrong, in a launch Garner, launch Showco situation than it is to launch your business, get out there, and then the community tell you that,
Absolutely.
right? So I do say surround yourself with people who don't just tell you what you want to hear. I can't tell you how many people I have in my life that I love dearly, and they are those people. I mean, they will look at me and go, what are you talking about? Or quit being such a turd. I mean? Like, you need those people to keep you real and to keep you honest. Because,
Now there it is.
all
All
right.
right, and we're back. This isn't the first time
Yay!
this has happened.
Well, that's
So,
what happens when your phone overheats because you're in a car.
right? Hey, we're moms, we're working moms, so we're making it happen.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a whole different level of challenge, right? Mom entrepreneurs.
It is, and I am a single mom, and I have three kids. Two are grown, but still
Wow.
had three kids when I started
Different.
the business. Was
Wow.
crazy.
Well, I applaud you because I can't imagine doing it alone. It's hard enough, but at least I can go make your father deal with it.
Right? I do miss that, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I could be this productive if I also had to, me personally, have to have a relationship on top of it. Because I know that it was kind of an area of contention during me starting the business. And so I completely understand you that. I honestly, hands up and down to you, because that is amazing that you were able to do all that and start the business and make it thrive.
Well, I will have to credit my husband because he is pretty amazing and he is a super chill, doesn't get upset about anything, whereas I'm like, blah, and I'm all over the place. And I always say, he's like the calm and the steady and the relationship. And he also is a small business owner and he actually owned a business before I did. So I think that really has helped too. I'm trying to think, oh my gosh, he's had his business since like 95. So that also really helps when they understand the mindset. I say to people all the time, I don't think you guys understand what it's like to go on vacation with two people that are small business owners. I mean, it is, the typical story is at some point either I'm getting a phone call with some kind of craziness that's going on that I've got to handle, or he is in the middle of like a loan going sideways. We went to Vegas together, or not Vegas, New Orleans, and I'm hanging out in a casino by myself, and he's trying to find Wi-Fi to go, pull out his laptop and do stuff. And you can't get mad because it could have been you having to deal with it. So I think that does help when you're both in the same boat. You have a little more compassion for the situation.
No, absolutely. And that's something that I always like to highlight too, is that, you've got to make sure that you're supportive regardless.
Yes, yes,
So that's really
100%.
good that he's supportive. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, so that we're talking about it, like what are some of the common challenges that entrepreneurs face and how can you overcome them?
Oh my goodness. The common challenges. I feel like as long as you have a good business concept, um, that really getting the word out is one of the hardest challenges. I have been a business owner for 15 years and I still have people that'll say, "Oh my god, when did you open here?" And I'm like, 15 years ago." Like, so and people look at you almost like it's your fault or that you were clearly like, well, why don't I know about you? I don't know. I'll say all the time, I don't know why you don't know about me. But if I had millions of dollars to advertise, then I would. So it's one of those things where I think that's why Choose Local became a thing. And that's why we're at 115 businesses is it's really rare to find a group where it's kind of more of a feel good, holistic vibe that we have because it's a nice balance between community and marketing and business and all of that kind of stuff that's still affordable because our dues are still only $150 a year right now.
Oh, wow.
And I know we could charge more, um, but I always try to have the mindset that there is a person out there with a business that's doing the best they can, and $150 is still a lot of money to them. And I don't want to be the group that you can't get in because of that. I'd rather be the group that you can pick and choose. Now, just because it's 150 to join doesn't mean that everything on top of that is gravy, like that you get to do everything for nothing. If you want your logo on one of our bags or something, that costs extra, but it's all up to you. You get to decide. You still get shouted out on social media, you still get all those perks of everything else. And then if you find value in this, do it. But we're not gonna, I hate salesy, high pressure kind of stuff. I just never came from that world and I don't like it. So if you want it, do it. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to hear anything from me about it. So I think marketing and getting the word out is one of the biggest challenges for small businesses these days, especially in the world of big box stores. I mean, I
Yeah.
know now I'm going to get on my soapbox and sound like I'm fussing about everything, but you know what? Amazon has got the market covered. Everybody just wants to go on their phone and click, 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 click. They don't need any help. Starbucks doesn't need any help. But you know who needs help? Your local coffee shop down the street. So that's my hill I'm dying on. I'm still going to try to nicely remind people that there's always an option of somebody local and small that will be way more positively impacted if you choose to spend your money there than if you go for just a big corporation.
No, absolutely. And that's what I love about like Choose Local is that you're highlighting that. You're highlighting the small businesses that are here because I feel like the small businesses are what makes the community. Because without them, there is no
Exactly.
community, you know?
There, exactly. I mean, like, you can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
You're, I put something out the other day and I really meant it. How horrible would it be if you went from Winston-Salem to Rocky Mount to Raleigh to Garner and every single town had exactly the same business in every single town because it was all corporate, right? Every town had the same Starbucks and every town had the same Walmart. And that was your only option, right? You didn't have all those little quirky businesses that get to do whatever they want. I mean, the other day we went to God, were we in Winston-Salem, Greensboro? How terrible now. No, Wilmington. Wilmington. They have a coffee shop that's dinosaur themed. Like,
Yes.
it was amazing. I loved it. And so when we go places, I try to always find like just the nutty little places. And you walk in and you go, yes. And everybody loves it. And it's just so out there. I mean, how horrible would it be if it was a Starbucks and that was my only option? Like, no. So yeah, that's my whole thing. People probably avoid me all the time because I'm always like, wait, no, you have an option. Don't go there. Don't do Amazon.
No, you're right. Actually, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think about this all the time. Amazon sells groceries now, and their groceries are cheaper than Walmart. So they actually cornered the market for freaking groceries.
The, don't get me started, but like they're gonna, not just them, but there's a lot of things in the works now where I feel like small businesses are gonna even have bigger and bigger challenges because the corporate people and entities are just taking over all the other things around, and it's making it really, really challenging for small businesses to survive and thrive, and that's sad.
It is, and that's why we need people like you to keep up this the Choose Local because without it, how are we gonna know about these little gyms? You know?
Right, exactly. Like you want to, I feel like I always say my basic philosophy about people is they want to do good and they want to do the right thing. They just need the opportunity presented. And I will definitely say that our classy little community, wherever they may be, but our online folks are amazing. And if you show them like, hey, look at these folks, they really do go support it. So it does matter. It does.
Absolutely. Keep doing the good work. I'm excited. I want to join the group now.
Thank you.
I know a
Yes,
lot of my
we
friends
need
have.
you.
So this sounds great, and
Love it.
I'm going to go watch some of your news, and we're going to put all those
Oh,
things with
goodness.
your episode. So tell us what the website is.
Okay, so it's chooselocalandsmallyall.com.
Perfect. I'll link that to your episode,
Yep,
but I just wanted to hear you say it out loud so that if people are just listening,
nice.
they can go right to their
Yep,
computer or phone at
love it,
this
love it.
point.
That's right. You can do your phone, whatever.
Right. Well, I want to thank you very much for meeting me today. I know that you're a busy mom, and so am I. And so I'll let you get back to your soccer game. But thank you so much for sharing your
Oh,
story and sharing about Choose Local. And I'm hoping that we can spread the word between the two of us.
oh, I feel sure we can come up with some really cool things to do. It was so nice to be on here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, join us next week for another amazing episode of Down Home Dirt.
All right.